Professional sporting teams will do whatever it takes to win at all costs, but if they get caught bending the rules, there can be serious consequences for the club as a whole and the sport they play. During the NRL era, these teams unfortunately failed to abide by the rules set by the NRL to create a fair competition and therefore were penalised accordingly, as this is greatest game of all, and this is our ranking of the 10 biggest cheating scandals. Before I start this list, I just wanted to quickly say that cheating is a very strong word and probably isn't the best word to describe most of these scandals. We are in no way calling these clubs cheats, we are just simply sharing information based on reported news about these clubs, in friendlier terms, bending the rules. Number 10, the Broncos in 2004. In 2004, the Brisbane Broncos were initially stripped of 2 competition points for an illegal interchange in a round 3 clash against the Tigers. In the 61st minute, Brisbane prop Shane Webke was knocked out from a Bryce Gibbs tackle, which was put on report. Corey Parker was set to replace Webke, but the referee allowed play to continue whilst Webke was still being carried off. Realising his team were down by 2 points, Parker jumped the gun and went onto the field without the NRL interchange officials' instructions, meaning the Bronx technically had 14 players on the field. 3 tackles later, Parker had an immediate impact, scoring a try to level the scores at 18 all, and the Broncos would go on to win the match 32-24. NRL CEO David Gallett was quoted saying, "As hard as this issue is to deal with, it comes down to the point that a player took the field despite twice being told not to, and in spite of an attempt to recall him, and that his presence on the field had an immediate impact on the game." The Broncos appealed the decision and were given the 2 points back, but they were hit with a $75,000 fine. Number 9, the Cowboys in 2000. The first points deduction in the NRL era came in this round 4 clash in 2000 between the Eels and the Cowboys at Parramatta Stadium. The Cowboys had 14 players on the field for 3 minutes during their 26-18 victory over the Eels. During this time, they were defending their try line, which made the NRL believe that there was an unfair playing advantage given to the North Queensland Cowboys. The Cowboys CEO was contacted by NRL ground manager minutes after the match about the infringement. They were only stripped of the 2 competition points they earned against the Eels with no further punishments. Number 8, the Bulldogs in 2009. Similar to the previous 2, the Bulldogs were deducted 2 competition points for having 14 players on the field in this round 2 clash against the Panthers in 2009. Bulldogs half Ben Roberts would come on as a late replacement for captain Andrew Ryan, but in the final 5 minutes, Michael Ennis went down with an injury which meant Ryan had to replace Ennis. Whilst Ennis was still on the field, the Bulldogs trainer called out to Ryan to re-enter the match. Following his trainer's orders, Ryan went back on and took his place in the attacking line, where Ben Roberts would score a try to tie the game. Hazemar Mowsey would convert the try, which would eventually win the game for the Bulldogs. After the match, Ryan was quoted saying, "The trainer sort of said to me to go back on the field, so I had no idea. Obviously I've got no idea what's happening on the walkie-talkies and over the other side of the field and all the different instructions. It happens many times in a game where the trainers, or whoever is out there, tells you to get off as quick as you can, or get on as quick as you can." Nevertheless, the Bulldogs deduction cost the Bulldogs a minor premiership as they finished on equal points with the eventual minor premiers, the Dragons. Number 7, the Sharks in 2019. Only 2 weeks before the start of the 2019 season, the Sharks were fined $250,000 and were forced to play both the 2019 and 2020 season $553,500 under the salary cap, which they breached several times dating back to 2013. They were originally fined $750,000 but had $500,000 wiped due to the Sharks CEO self-reporting the matter in 2017. The Sharks were found to have set up a company to attempt to procure third-party payments for their players, with promises made for around $750,000 worth of illegal payments. The Sharks also had to release 1 player before the start of the season, and many thought that player would be their new star signing of Shaun Johnson. However, it ended up being James Seguiaro, who would then sign with the Broncos. The Sharks decided not to appeal the decision, considering they were the ones that originally came forward to the NRL about the allegations.
In this case, however, the club, led by its CEO Barry Russell, reported salary cap discrepancies that he identified upon joining that club back in 2018. This decision demonstrated a high level of personal integrity on the part of the Sharks CEO, and we have therefore suspended $500,000 of that fine to be imposed on the club. I can say this, that the penalty would have been significantly higher, except for the fact that the Sharks voluntarily notified the NRL of suspected salary cap breaches.
Sharks CEO Barry Russell was quoted saying, "We have no plans to appeal. We will deal with the consequences of the fines and punishments and take the positive that we now can move ahead into the new season and into the future with these matters behind us." Number 6, the Sea Eagles in 2018. Both on and off the field, Manly's 2018 campaign was an absolute nightmare for the club. Poor results on the field ultimately led to their second last finish on the ladder and the salary cap scandal at the start of the season. The NRL Integrity Unit found that Manly had made third-party undisclosed payments totaling $1.5 million to over 15 players across a 5-year period. NRL CEO Tom Greenberg was quoted saying, "In other words, Manly had a financial advantage in securing the services of players who may have otherwise gone to other clubs." No competition points were stripped, but that didn't stop Greenberg from laying down some hefty punishments, which included a $750,000 fine, a $660,000 salary cap deduction for both the 2018 and 2019 seasons, and both COO Neil Baer and former CEO Joe Kelly were suspended for 12 months each. Manly appealed the decision, but it was denied by the NRL, meaning the punishments would stand.
I've said many times, clubs which cheat the cap will be caught. If not immediately, then eventually. And so it is today with Manly.
Number 5, the Warriors in 2005. During the 2004 and 2005 seasons, the New Zealand Warriors were guilty for breaching the salary cap by making undisclosed payments to players worth approximately $1 million. They were fined $430,000 and stripped of 4 competition points for the upcoming 2006 season. This was the first time a club was stripped of points before the season had begun. Warriors chairman Maurice Kidd did not agree with the stripping with the points due to the fact that the breach didn't occur in the 2006 campaign. He said, "We haven't committed a crime in 2006. You can't be punished for a crime you haven't committed. No doubt there should have been a fine, but there shouldn't have been a stripping of points for 2006. However, NRL CEO David Gallop had the argument that we can't have a situation where clubs can gamble on breaking the rules knowing that all they need to do is write a check to pay a fine at the end of the season. There needs to be a stronger disincentive for cheating than that, and certainly competition points is a very strong disincentive and deterrent to others." The 4 points deduction proved to be crucial for the New Zealand club as they finished in 10th spot, but would have clinched the 8th spot on the ladder if the points weren't stripped, meaning the salary cap breach ultimately cost them a spot in the 2006 final series. Number 4, the Eels in 2016.
The preliminary findings suggest the operation of a deliberate, coordinated and sustained system of salary cap cheating by the club.
After round 9 of the 2016 season, the Parramatta Eels were caught breaching the salary cap by using third-party and undisclosed payments totaling approximately $3 million dating back to 2013. Further allegations suggest that the Eels failed to disclose that a company was sponsoring a third-party deal for their recent star signing Anthony Watmo. It was known that the Eels were over $500,000 over the salary cap for the current 2016 season. The NRL laid down the following punishments for the Parramatta club: the maximum financial penalty of $1 million, the deduction of all competition points earned thus far in the 2016 season, being 12 points. The club were able to earn competition points once they were salary cap compliant. Considering this, they had to release promising young hooker Nathan Peets, who would then sign with the Gold Coast Titans. They were also stripped of their Auckland Nines title, which they earned in February of 2016, and 3 Eels board members and 2 executives were deregistered.
And based on the information we currently have, we believe the system was conducted with the knowledge and support of the club's board and senior executive.
The Eels were initially set to appeal the matter, however their newly appointed Parramatta chairman formally withdrew the appeal, quoting that, "Based on my review, I believe the appeal had no chance of success and should be withdrawn. This meant the initial punishments would stand and the Eels would have claimed 8th spot on the ladder if they weren't stripped of the points." Number 3, the Sharks in 2013. The peptide scandal began its investigation in February of 2013, which questioned the supplements that the Cronulla Sharks were consuming during the 2011 season and the 2012 preseason. This being 2 growth hormone releasing peptides, which are both banned under the Australian Sports Anti-Doping Agency, or ASADA, and the World Anti-Doping Agency, or WADA. Sports scientist at the Sharks, Stephen Dank, admitted both substances were injected into Cronulla Sharks players along with lozenges and creams. Coach Shane Flanagan and a few trainers and doctors were aware of this and told the players to work with him and trust him. Dank was also part of the Essendon Football Club's scandal in the AFL around this time, making the situation even more suspicious. Asada conducted interviews with a number of NRL players, with the first interview being conducted with back rower Wade Graham, and the final interview was with captain Paul Gallen. Finally, after 9 months of investigation, the following penalties were applied: a $1 million fine, a 12-month ban for coach Shane Flanagan, and the deregistration of former club trainer Trent Elkin. In August of 2014, these players were issued show cause notices offering them a 12-month ban dating back to November of 2013, and all players were ineligible for any awards at the Dally M medal ceremony for the 2014 season. Number 2, the Bulldogs in 2002. After a disappointing 2000 season, the Bulldogs heavily recruited players for the 2001 and 2002 seasons, signing players such as Luke Patton, Nigel Vunlinger and Darren Trindle. They got off to a dream start of the 2002 season, winning 17 games in a row, sitting pretty in first place. But it all came crashing down for the Dogs after round 23, as the NRL had caught them breaching the salary cap by approximately $1 million of undisclosed payments in 2001 and 2002. More specifically, $600,000 in 2001 and $400,000 in 2002. The NRL would fine the club $500,000 and strip them of 37 competition points earned from wins thus far in the season.
The National Rugby League has resolved to issue the Bulldogs with a breach notice, withdrawing 37 NRL competition points from its 2002 season tally and fining the club $500,000.
This had massive effects on the 2002 season as a whole, as the Dogs were currently in first place, 5 points clear of the second place Warriors before they were stripped of their points, which meant the Warriors would claim their first minor premiership and the Raiders would sneak into 8th spot with a points differential record of negative 170 points. NRL CEO David Gallop said the breach was exceptional in both its size and its deliberate and ongoing nature. The Bulldogs appealed the matter to no avail, with President Gary McIntyre, CEO Bob Hagan and Chairman Barry Nelson all board members at the time of the scandal. And number 1, the Storm in 2010. It's pretty obvious that the Melbourne Storm salary cap scandal in 2010 is number 1 on this list. The shocking news developed in April of 2010, which was just before round 7. It was known that the Storm made undisclosed payments of approximately $1.7 million to its players across a 5-year period, by keeping 2 sets of account books.
Has engaged in a long-term system of operating what might conveniently be called 2 sets of books.
This second account book was actually kept in a room at the CEO's home, well away from the players' legal contracts, with very limited staff members being made aware of this.
The elaborate lengths that they went to hide the payments was quite extraordinary.
They made undisclosed payments of approximately $700,000 for the 2010 season alone, and this allowed them to keep some of the best players in the game, such as their Big Four in Greg Inglis, Billy Slater, Cooper Cronk, and Cameron Smith. The NRL showed no remorse in punishing the Storm by fining them $500,000, but most importantly, they were stripped of their minor premierships and premierships they had earned from 2006 to 2009. This being their 2006, 2007 and 2008 minor premierships, their 2010 World Cup Challenge title, and the biggest of them all, their 2007 and 2009 Grand Final premierships. They also had to return their $1.1 million earned in prize money over this time, which was distributed evenly between the other 15 clubs and to the Leeds Rhinos for the 2010 World Club Challenge. The 8 competition points they earned up to round 7 of the 2010 season would be deducted, and they would have to continue playing the 2010 season knowing that they can't accrue any more points, meaning they would be wooden spooners for the first time in the club's history. It was such a shame for the club, as they had developed pretty much all their star players, with Adam Blair, Cooper Cronk, Ryan Hoffman, Greg Inglis, Billy Slater, Cameron Smith, Dallas Johnson, Brett White and Israel Folau all making their debuts for the Storm. But the fact they went to elaborate lengths to keep these players is the reason why all this come about. Coach Craig Bellamy spoke on behalf of the coaches and players after hearing the shocking news.
We have been gutted with what has transpired in recent days. Our greatest accomplishments and what we cherish most have been taken away from us by the harshest of penalties. The 2 things that they can never take away is our dignity and our integrity. We know we will be investigated. We welcome that. I love this club. I love these players. These players love our club. This club is a great club. It's a strong club. It's a very proud club. It also has been a successful club. We, as people and as a rugby league club, have a huge role to play in Victoria. We will stand up for ourselves and we will fight our way back from here. That fight starts today.
Many say it's the darkest day in rugby league and the worst off-field incident in rugby league history. Others say the penalties the Storm received were too harsh and ruined the reputations of some of the game's greatest players. But, in our opinion, there is no denying that the Melbourne Storm salary cap scandal was the biggest cheating scandal in the NRL era. So, what did you think of our list? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below, chuck us a like on Facebook and this video, follow us on Instagram and subscribe to our channel for more Rugby League Countdowns.